One of the ways that we can deepen our knowledge of fractions is by starting to compare them. In this video, we're going to be looking at how we can compare fractions with the same numerator. To start with, we're going to draw a rectangle. For this rectangle, I'm going to shade the whole rectangle. And we're going to call that one whole, which we can write in a couple of different ways. We could write it as a fraction 1 over the top of 1, or we could simply write it as the number 1 for one whole. Now, when I say comparing fractions of the same numerator, of course, this number on the top is the numerator. That's going to stay the same. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare it with numbers with a different denominator. Okay, so here we've got the same box again. This time I'm going to cut it into half. I'm going to colour one of the pieces. And I'm going to call it 1/2. I'm also going to write it as a fraction. So number 1 on the top, line, and a 2 on the bottom. What do you notice here? Okay, as the number's gone from 1 to 2, it's obviously got bigger. Notice how the size of the piece has got smaller because we've gone from one whole, which is the whole piece, to just 1/2. And if we have a look at another one, this time we're going to do thirds, or 1/3 specifically. So I'm going to cut it into thirds, or 3 equal pieces, and I'm going to colour one of them. I'm going to write it in words, 1/3, and I'm also going to write it as a fraction. Now notice the denominator has got bigger again. We've gone from 2 to 3, and the piece size has got smaller. The reason for that is because as we have to share it into more pieces, the size of the piece has to get smaller. And then the last one we're going to compare to on this screen is 1/4. So I'm going to cut that into half, half that half, and half that half. Now I've got 4 pieces. I'm going to colour just one of them because we're keeping the numerator the same. And I'll write it 1/4, and also as a fraction. So once again, notice the number here has got bigger and the size of the piece has got smaller. And since we're dealing with 1 in each situation here, we've got 1 whole, 1/2, 1/3, and 1/4. The only thing we need to look at is the size of the piece. And since the quarter is the smallest piece that I've drawn here, that means 1/4 is going to be smaller than 1/3 because the piece is smaller. So which is larger, 1/3 or 1/4? Do you know straight away which one's going to be larger? If you're not sure, you could always draw a diagram. Call that a whole. Do the same diagram on this side. On this side, we're going to cut it into thirds and colour one of the pieces. And on this side, I'm going to cut it into 4 equal pieces. And I'm going to colour one of the pieces. Now with the help of our diagrams, can we see straight away which one's going to be bigger? We can see that this piece is bigger than this piece. So we know 1/3 is bigger than 1/4. This one's the biggest. If ever you're having difficulties with this sort of stuff, just draw a diagram and then you can see visually which one is bigger or smaller. Let's have a look at another one. 1/4 or 1/2. Once again, I can draw a diagram. Quarters will look like this. Color one of them. And a half is going to look just two equal pieces. Color one of them as well. Now we can pretty easily see that the half is larger. One more example. 1/5 and 1/3. Now this time I'm not going to draw a diagram. I know that a third is bigger. A whole that's divided into 5 parts, and this is a whole that's only divided into 3 parts. So these must be bigger parts. Since we got one of each, I know this is going to be my bigger fraction. Once again, if I'm not sure, you could just draw it. The number one mistake that gets made with this, comparing fractions, is they compare these two numbers. So they go, that's a 3, that's a 4, this is a bigger number, therefore this must be a bigger fraction. But hopefully you can see why, as that number gets bigger, the piece sizes get smaller, because it's one shared into that many pieces. The more pieces you have, the smaller they have to be. Activities like this, where we're comparing fractions, are very helpful for us to get better at reasoning and understanding and deepening our knowledge of fractions. I'll put a link in the description with some other activities that I hope will be helpful for you. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.